A group of teenagers unknowingly snaps a photo together, completely unaware that the picture will seal their fate. The story opens with two young women, Sarah and Linda, sorting through a box filled with the belongings of Sarah's late mother. Her mother passed away years earlier, and while cleaning the house, Sarah discovered several of her old possessions packed away inside the box. As they search through everything, they find an old Polaroid camera that once belonged to Sarah's mother. They soon realize the camera was manufactured sometime in the 1970s. Curious, Sarah asks Linda to take a picture of her in her mother's old bedroom using the vintage Polaroid camera. "It's my mom's old stuff. It's a camera. We take it with us." After the photo is taken, they patiently wait for it to develop. Before the image has fully appeared, Linda receives a call from her mother telling her to come home immediately. Having no other option, Sarah walks her to the front door. Moments after Linda leaves, Sarah hears strange noises coming from upstairs. She glances back at the Polaroid photo and is horrified to discover a dark figure standing directly behind her in the image. A short time later, the electricity suddenly cuts out, leaving Sarah frightened. She rushes downstairs to restore the power, but is startled when a ball unexpectedly drops from the attic, despite the house being completely empty. Both terrified and curious, Sarah decides to investigate. As soon as she steps into the attic, an invisible force violently attacks her, killing her instantly. The story then shifts to a shy young woman named Bird. Quiet and introverted, she usually keeps to herself and attends Locust Harbor High School, where she rarely interacts with her classmates. She secretly has feelings for a handsome student named Connor, but she has never been brave enough to tell him. To help cover her school expenses, Bird works at an antique store owned by her friend Tyler. One day, Tyler surprises her with an old Polaroid camera as a gift. The camera is incredibly rare because it dates back to the 1970s. Curious about where it came from, Bird asks Tyler, and he explains that someone sold it for an unbelievably low price, making it impossible for him to pass up. While examining the camera, Bird notices the initials RJS engraved on it. Intrigued by the vintage camera, she asks if she can take it home. Before agreeing, Tyler insists that she first make sure it still works. At first, Tyler wants to take a picture of Bird, but she refuses because she feels uncomfortable posing in front of a camera. Instead, Tyler offers to be the subject for the test shot himself. "Then you can try it out on me then." "Oh yeah." While waiting for the photo to develop, Tyler slowly moves closer and tries to kiss Bird. Realizing his intentions, Bird immediately leaves the shop, taking the Polaroid camera with her. Once she gets home, Bird loads a fresh pack of film into the camera so she can finally use it. Not long afterward, her classmate Casey stops by and invites her to a party being held at Avery's house. Bird initially declines because she dislikes crowded social gatherings. Casey, however, keeps encouraging her, hoping she'll open up, socialize, and meet new people. After enough persuasion, Bird eventually agrees to go. "You coming to the party tonight or what?" "I don't know." "Let people actually get to know you. Come on. Please? Come on, I'll be there." "I don't even have anything to wear." "Well, I figured you'd be weird, so I brought you. Come on, it's a weeknight." 20 minutes. Do it, because that's when our ride's getting here." Later that evening, Davin, Mina, and Casey pick Bird up. That's a pretty realistic-looking Bird costume. "Are you guys ready?" "Yeah. Let's party." After a fairly long drive, they finally arrive at Avery's house. As soon as Bird walks inside, she immediately feels out of place because of the loud music and crowded atmosphere. She refuses to drink alcohol and has no interest in joining everyone else on the dance floor. Meanwhile, back at the antique shop, Tyler is closing the store for the night. As he finishes cleaning, he comes across an old projector containing several vintage photographs. While looking through the images, he notices a dark shadow hiding in the background of one of them. At first, Tyler assumes the projector is malfunctioning, but he soon realizes that isn't the case. Without any warning, a terrifying supernatural entity suddenly appears and attacks him, killing him instantly. The story then returns to the party, where Bird is sitting by herself. While she is alone, Connor walks over and strikes up a conversation. The two quickly become comfortable with each other and spend some time talking. Connor is especially intrigued by the vintage Polaroid camera Bird has with her. A short while later, Davin and Mina approach them and suggest taking a group picture together. Since Bird still feels awkward being photographed, she decides not to be in the picture. Instead, because she has the Polaroid camera, she volunteers to take the photo herself. Just as she is about to photograph Davin, Mina, and Connor, Casey suddenly rushes into the frame. Once the picture develops, everyone looks at it carefully, but nothing appears to be out of the ordinary. Not long afterward, Avery walks over, fascinated by the old Polaroid camera. She asks to borrow it for a moment and takes a picture of herself. At that exact moment, police officers arrive at Avery's house, forcing her to head downstairs. The officers have come to deliver tragic news to Bird. Tyler has been found dead under horrifying circumstances. One of the officers, Sheriff Thomas, brings Bird to the police station to ask her a few questions. Bird refuses to accept that Tyler is gone because he had seemed completely fine earlier that day. Sheriff Thomas asks whether Tyler had any enemies or anyone who might have wanted to hurt him, but Bird insists that he was a genuinely kind person and cannot think of anyone who would wish him harm. Before allowing her to leave, the officers ask Bird to contact them if she remembers anything that could help the investigation. Later that night, Bird carefully examines every picture taken with the Polaroid camera, including Tyler's photo, Avery's self-portrait, and the group picture featuring Casey, Connor, Mina, and Davin. While studying Avery's photograph, she is stunned to notice a dark shadow standing directly behind her. Even so, Bird convinces herself that it is probably just the shadow of someone passing by, since the party had been crowded with people moving around. Back at Avery's house, everyone has already left, leaving her completely alone. As she takes the trash outside after the party, she suddenly hears strange noises coming from upstairs. She cautiously goes to investigate, only to come face to face with a horrifying creature that immediately attacks her.
The brutal attack leaves Avery dead, with her head twisted completely backward. The next morning, Bird receives a phone call from Casey telling her that Avery has died inside her own house. According to the police, Avery supposedly fell down the stairs, which caused the fatal injury to her neck. After hearing the news, Bird immediately looks at Avery's Polaroid picture again and is horrified to discover that the dark shadow has completely vanished. Even more disturbing, the shadow has somehow transferred into the group photo featuring Casey, Connor, Mina, and Davin. Panicking, Bird throws the Polaroid camera in frustration, hoping to destroy it. However, no matter what she does, the camera remains completely undamaged, as though some invisible force is protecting it. Realizing that something is terribly wrong, Bird rushes to school to warn her friends. "Look, see that thing in the group photo? Wait, what? This shadow I saw in Tyler's photo." She then shows them all three photographs: Tyler's picture, Avery's self-portrait, and the group photo featuring Casey, Connor, Mina, and Davin. Bird explains that the dark shadow first appeared in Tyler's photograph. After Tyler died, it moved into Avery's picture, and once Avery was killed, it somehow transferred into the group photo of Casey, Connor, Mina, and Davin. Convinced that the curse was now targeting all of them, Bird warns her friends that their lives are in danger. Despite everything she tells them, no one believes her. Instead, they dismiss the deaths of Tyler and Avery as nothing more than tragic coincidences. Davin, who refuses to believe in anything supernatural, decides to prove Bird is wrong by setting the group photo on fire. The moment the flames reach Mina's image, her hand suddenly catches fire in real life, leaving everyone horrified. They desperately try to put out the flames on her hand, but nothing seems to work. Fortunately, Bird quickly extinguishes the burning photograph, and the fire consuming Mina's hand instantly disappears as well. At that moment, everyone realizes the Polaroid camera is truly cursed. Anyone photographed with it is doomed to die, and any damage inflicted on the photograph is reflected onto the person shown in it. Because of the severe burns on her hand, Mina is rushed to the hospital for treatment. Davin stays with her while the others continue trying to understand the mystery surrounding the cursed camera. Connor asks Bird where she got the camera. Bird admits she has no idea where it originally came from and explains that Tyler was the only one who knew who had sold it to him. Hoping to uncover its origin, Connor offers to drive Bird to Tyler's antique shop in search of clues. Once they arrive, Bird tells Connor to wait in the car while she searches the shop alone. She believes the ghost cannot hurt her because she has never actually been photographed by the Polaroid camera. However, only moments after entering the store, she hears strange noises echoing throughout the building. Without warning, the ghost attacks her. Fortunately, Connor rushes inside just in time and manages to save Bird before the creature can kill her. Confused, Bird cannot understand why the entity targeted her when she had never posed for a Polaroid picture. Connor takes another close look at the group photo and notices that Bird's face is visible as a reflection in a mirror while she was taking the picture. Because of that reflection, Bird unknowingly became part of the photograph, meaning the curse is now coming after her as well. Realizing there is no time to waste, Bird and Connor immediately race to the hospital. During the drive, Bird calls Mina and desperately warns her not to stay alone because the ghost could attack at any moment. Mina calls out for Davin, but he is outside the room and cannot hear her.
The ghost slowly approaches before brutally murdering her. A short time later, Davin returns to the hospital room, only to find it completely empty. When he pulls back the curtain, he is horrified to discover Mina's lifeless body hanging above him. The police quickly arrive and begin investigating the incident. Davin desperately insists that Mina was murdered because of the curse connected to the Polaroid camera, but the officers refuse to take his story seriously. When Bird and Connor finally reach the hospital, Davin angrily blames Bird for Mina's death. He argues that none of this would have happened if Bird had never taken their picture at the party. Filled with guilt, Bird apologizes, explaining that she had no idea the camera was cursed. Connor tries to reassure her and promises they will uncover the truth behind the mysterious camera together. While searching through the camera bag, Bird discovers an old police evidence tag connected to a homicide investigation from 1974. Believing the case may be linked to the cursed camera, she and Connor head to the public library to search through old newspaper archives. After going through countless newspaper records, they finally find an article about the case. It reveals that a man named Roland Joseph Sable murdered 3 teenagers years earlier. Roland had once worked as a photography teacher at their own school, Locust Harbor High School. The article also mentions that he was married to a woman named Lena Sable. The moment Bird hears the name Roland Joseph Sable, she immediately remembers the initials engraved on the camera. The letters RJS perfectly match Roland Joseph Sable's initials, making her even more certain that the Polaroid camera once belonged to him. As they continue reading, they discover that Roland was eventually shot and killed by police after being caught trying to murder another teenager. The article also lists Roland's former home address and suggests that his wife Lena may still be alive. After writing down the address, Bird and Connor arrange to meet Casey and Davin at a cafe. Still consumed by anger over Mina's death, Davin continues holding Bird responsible for everything that has happened. In a fit of rage, he even threatens to take a picture of Bird so she will become the curse's next victim. Bird calmly explains that she is already cursed because her reflection accidentally appeared in the group photograph. The 4 friends gather to discuss what they should do with everything they have uncovered. While searching the address online, Casey discovers that Lena Sable moved away from the house years ago.
The property is now listed under the name Anne Faraday.
Still consumed by anger, Davin suddenly grabs the Polaroid camera and tries to take a picture of Bird, hoping she will become the next victim instead of him. Connor immediately steps in to stop him, and the two begin struggling over the camera. During the fight, Connor accidentally snaps a picture of Davin. As soon as the photo develops, the dark shadow that had been lurking in the group picture suddenly transfers into Davin's photograph, making it clear that he has become the ghost's next target. Terrified, Davin desperately tries to photograph Bird again, but Casey stops him. Acting without thinking, Casey stabs Davin's image through the hand in the photograph. Instantly, an identical wound appears on Davin's real hand. At that moment, they finally understand the full extent of the curse. Whatever happens to a photograph also happens to the person inside it. Damaging the picture means inflicting the exact same injury on its victim. Completely overwhelmed with anger, Davin lashes out and punches a police officer who attempts to break up the confrontation. Because he assaulted an officer, he is immediately arrested and locked inside a jail cell for the next 24 hours. Bird and Connor desperately plead with Sheriff Thomas to release him, explaining that Davin's life is in immediate danger. If he remains alone, the ghost will have the perfect opportunity to kill him. Thomas, however, refuses to believe a word about ghosts or cursed cameras. He insists that Davin remain in custody, believing the arrest will teach him a lesson and prevent him from causing any more trouble. Since Davin cannot be released, Bird visits him in his cell and apologizes for everything that has happened. Davin eventually admits he was wrong as well and apologizes for the way he treated her. As Bird leaves the police station, Casey calls with an important discovery. She continued investigating Anne Faraday and uncovered a shocking truth. Anne Faraday is actually Lena Sable. After Roland's death, Lena changed her name to Anne Faraday to hide her identity from the public. In other words, the two names belong to the same woman. The moment Bird learns this, she and Connor immediately head to the address they found. Not long after they leave, terrifying supernatural events begin inside Davin's jail cell. With nowhere to escape, he realizes there is nothing he can do. Shortly afterward, the ghost brutally kills him while he is still locked behind bars. Eventually, Bird and Connor arrive at Lena Sable's house. Bird hopes that returning Roland's Polaroid camera to its original owner will finally put his restless spirit to rest. The instant Lena sees the camera, painful memories of her late husband come rushing back. She invites them inside and begins sharing the tragic story of her family. Years earlier, Lena and Roland lived a happy life together with their daughter, Rebecca Sable. Rebecca was quiet, shy, and very similar to Bird. She rarely left the house and preferred keeping to herself. Everything changed after Roland and Lena gave Rebecca a Polaroid camera as a gift. She quickly became obsessed with it, spending less and less time at home while wandering around taking photographs of everything that caught her attention. She even carried the camera to school every single day, almost as though she could not live without it. Because she always had the camera with her, many of her classmates began treating her like an outsider. One evening, 4 teenagers convinced Rebecca to attend a party with them. Although she refused at first, they pressured her until she finally agreed. Once she arrived, they cruelly humiliated her. Some of the teenagers even used Rebecca's own camera to take inappropriate pictures of her while she was undressed. Those humiliating photographs were later circulated throughout the school for everyone to see. Unable to cope with the shame and humiliation, Rebecca eventually took her own life outside her family home. Later, the police showed those photographs to Roland. Seeing what had been done to his daughter filled him with uncontrollable rage. Determined to avenge Rebecca's death, he hunted down the 4 teenagers responsible one by one. He successfully captured and brutally murdered 3 of them. However, while attempting to kill the 4th victim, the police arrived before he could finish. With no other choice, the officers opened fire, killing Roland while he was still clutching the Polaroid camera, but punishing those kids for their cruelty. But Rebecca, she couldn't handle it. His anger turned him into a killer, and he did. He wouldn't stop until they were all punished. He died holding them. After revealing the heartbreaking story, Lena shows Bird and Connor a photograph of the only teenager who survived Roland's revenge. She urges Bird to find that man and complete what Roland had started. Bird becomes convinced that killing the final survivor may finally break the curse once and for all. She immediately calls Casey and tells her to meet them at the school. Bird and Connor then rush to Locust Harbor High School, where they begin searching through student records dating back to 1974. After carefully examining file after file, they finally uncover the identity of the surviving teenager, Sheriff Palumbo. To their absolute shock, they discover that the survivor is none other than Sheriff Thomas himself. They can hardly believe what they have found. At that exact moment, Thomas unexpectedly arrives with Casey. The group then begins discussing everything they have learned about the Sable family and the horrifying curse surrounding Roland's camera. Thomas asks Bird and the others what Lena told them about him and his 3 friends. Bird explains that Lena accused them of humiliating and abusing Rebecca Sable. Hearing those accusations, Thomas is left speechless and immediately insists that Lena's version of the story is completely untrue. Slowly, Bird takes out the Polaroid camera and considers photographing Thomas. When the moment comes, however, she cannot bring herself to do it. Seeing her hesitate, Connor suddenly grabs the camera and snaps a picture of Thomas before Thomas knocks the camera onto the floor. Completely exhausted by everything that has happened, Thomas finally reveals the horrifying truth about Rebecca Sable. According to him, neither he nor his 3 friends ever abused Rebecca. Instead, they had been trying to rescue her from her own father, Roland. It was Roland who secretly took the inappropriate photographs of Rebecca while she was undressed. After discovering the abuse, Thomas and his friends went to Rebecca's house and convinced her to hand over the photographs as evidence. Their intention was to report Roland to the police. However, Roland discovered their plan and flew into a murderous rage. To silence them before they could expose him, he hunted them down one by one with his car. Thomas's 3 friends were brutally murdered before they ever had the chance to report Roland's crimes. Thomas was the only one who survived. When Roland finally cornered him, the police arrived just in time and fatally shot Roland while he was still holding the Polaroid camera. As time passed, Rebecca's mental state continued to deteriorate. She was consumed by guilt because Thomas's friends had lost their lives trying to protect her. They had only wanted to save her, yet Roland murdered them because of it. Unable to bear that guilt any longer, Rebecca eventually took her own life. Thomas then explains that Lena rewrote the entire story after Roland's death, portraying Thomas and his friends as the villains while hiding the truth about her husband. In his view, she continued protecting Roland's reputation even after he was gone. The moment Thomas finishes revealing the truth, Roland's ghost suddenly appears inside the school and takes a Polaroid picture of him. The ghost immediately tears the photograph apart, causing Thomas to die instantly. "Shoot him." Connor quickly distracts Roland's ghost, preventing it from chasing Bird and Casey. Unfortunately, the spirit quickly loses interest in Connor and focuses its attention entirely on Bird. "Run!" Bird and Casey sprint into a nearby bathroom and turn on the hot water. Within moments, thick steam fills the room, making it difficult for Roland's ghost to see them clearly. Since Casey has been seriously injured, Bird tells her to remain hidden in the bathroom while she goes to find Connor. Before long, Bird reunites with him. After realizing that the ghost's primary target is Bird, Connor comes up with a desperate plan. He tells her to lure Roland's spirit into revealing itself. Once the ghost appears, Bird must take a Polaroid picture of it and then destroy the photograph. Connor believes that if the picture is destroyed, the ghost will be destroyed as well. Bird agrees without hesitation and deliberately leads Roland's ghost into the basement of the school. Once inside, she discovers a room identical to the place where Roland once tortured Thomas years earlier. Patiently waiting for the perfect opportunity, Bird finally manages to capture the ghost in a Polaroid photograph. As soon as the picture develops, Bird crushes it tightly in her hand. Instantly, Roland's ghost begins suffering the same injuries, with its bones snapping throughout its body. Determined to end the nightmare forever, Bird pulls out a lighter and sets the photograph ablaze. Moments later, Roland's ghost is completely destroyed. With the curse finally broken, Bird returns upstairs and reunites with Connor and Casey. In the end, the 3 of them are the only survivors of Roland's deadly curse. In the final scene, Bird throws the cursed Polaroid camera into the ocean, bringing the story to a close.